At what seemed to be nothing, they aimed the strongest telescope ever constructed. No stars, no galaxies, simply blackness. For decades, we deemed that slice of sky empty, a cosmic blind spot of almost no relevance. Yet, when the James Webb Space Telescope stared into that void for days, gathering the dimmest light conceivable, the resulting image shattered everything we believed. Where Hubble once saw roughly 10,000 galaxies, James Webb unveiled nearly 800,000, all hidden in a patch of sky no larger than a grain of sand held at arm's length. This wasn't merely a better photograph. It was a revelation, proving that throughout our entire history of astronomy, we have been viewing barely 1% of what actually exists. The universe was never sparse. It was overflowing. We were simply blind to the majority of it. And once you truly grasp what that scale implies, you never view reality the same way again. For generations, astronomers attempted to gauge the size of the universe by counting what was visible. Galaxies emitting visible light. Stars not yet stretched beyond detection. Light that arrived before cosmic expansion pulled it away. At the time, it seemed reasonable. Count the galaxies, estimate the density, extrapolate outward, and construct a model of reality. But that method was catastrophically flawed. It was akin to estimating the population of an entire city by standing on a single street corner at midnight, counting only those who happened to walk past, and assuming that was everyone. That is effectively what we were doing with the cosmos. Hubble revolutionized astronomy, but it could only see visible light. And most of the distant universe no longer shines in visible wavelengths. Its light has been stretched by cosmic expansion into infrared, frequencies Hubble simply could not detect. Those galaxies were always there. They didn't suddenly appear. They were just invisible to our instruments. When Webb arrived with infrared vision, reality didn't change. Our perception did. And suddenly, emptiness collapsed into abundance. Scientists made a bold choice. They pointed James Webb at the exact same spot Hubble had studied, a tiny patch of sky already considered crowded by old standards, and ordered the telescope to stare at it for 250 hours. 10 full days of collecting every possible photon. No shortcuts, no filtering, just patience. When the final image was assembled, it held 797,942 galaxies, nearly 800,000 collections of stars. Each galaxy potentially holding hundreds of billions of suns. Each sun possibly circled by planets. All of that hiding in what once looked like nothing. This single image implied something both terrifying and awe-inspiring. If we were wrong by 98% in just one tiny patch of sky, then our estimates for the entire universe are almost certainly wrong as well. The observable universe might not contain hundreds of billions of galaxies. It could contain tens of trillions or more. Numbers so vast they cease functioning as numbers and become abstractions the human mind cannot hold. Reality didn't just get bigger. It became unmanageable. Then Webb discovered something even more unsettling. Not just more galaxies, but galaxies that shouldn't exist at all. One of them, known as Jade's Jess Z14-0, emitted its light when a universe was only about 290 million years old, less than 2% of its current age. According to every existing model, such a galaxy should have been impossible. It was too bright, too massive, too organized. It held hundreds of millions of solar masses worth of stars formed in what amounts to cosmic weeks. There simply wasn't supposed to be enough time. Scientists assumed there must be an error. Instruments were checked. Data was verified. Measurements were repeated. The result didn't change. And worse, it wasn't alone. Webb uncovered hundreds of similarly impossible galaxies, all appearing far too early, far too developed, and far too luminous for our understanding of cosmic history. This wasn't a small correction. It was a foundational failure. The timeline of galaxy formation we trusted for decades is incomplete and possibly wrong in fundamental ways. The early universe was not slow and orderly. It was explosive, efficient, and violent with creation. And this is where the scale becomes almost unbearable to consider. The universe is 13.8 billion years old. So instinctively, you would assume the farthest things we could see would be 13.8 billion light years away. Simple logic, yet completely wrong, because space itself expands. The edge of the observable universe is not 13.8 billion light years away, but about 46.5 billion light years in every direction. A total diameter of roughly 93 billion light years. Light has been racing toward us for billions of years, but space kept stretching underneath it, pulling galaxies farther away as the light traveled. Some galaxies are now receding from us faster than the speed of light. Not because they are breaking physics, but because the space between us is expanding faster than light can cross it. This creates a cosmic horizon, a boundary beyond which nothing can ever be observed, even in principle. Entire regions of reality exist forever outside our reach. And every second, more galaxies cross that boundary and vanish from our observable universe forever. We're living in a brief, cosmic moment when the universe still reveals its past. A fleeting era that will not last. One of the most disturbing realizations James Webb helps confirm has nothing to do with beauty or wonder. It has to do with loss. Continuous, irreversible loss. Because the universe is not just big. It is getting bigger in a very specific and unforgiving way. Space itself is stretching, and that stretching is accelerating, driven by dark energy, which makes up roughly 68% of everything. Expansion is not slowing down. It is speeding up. This means that right now, galaxies you can still see are already doomed to disappear. Their light is reaching us today, but the space between us and them is expanding faster than new light can ever cross. At some point, they will cross the cosmic horizon. When that happens, they're gone forever. Not destroyed, just unreachable, unobservable, as if they never existed. James Webb didn't just show us more galaxies. It showed us that the universe is actively erasing itself from view, and it is doing it constantly. We're watching the universe at the only moment when it still allows itself to be seen. Here is something Webb forces us to confront that most people never think about. There is no single shared universe that everyone experiences. You live inside an observable bubble, a sphere roughly 46.5 billion light years in radius. That is the region of reality whose light has had time to reach you. Everything inside that bubble is potentially knowable. Everything outside it is not. But that bubble is not universal. Stand somewhere else in the cosmos, and you get a different observable universe. Overlapping with ours, yes, but not identical. Entire galaxies exist that you will never see. Not because your technology is limited, but because physics forbids it. This fractures reality. There is no view from nowhere. No cosmic perspective that sees everything at once. Reality itself is fundamentally partial. Every observer is trapped inside their own slice of existence, surrounded by things they can never access. Webb didn't just expand the universe. It shattered the idea that the universe is fully knowable at all. Another consequence of cosmic scale is temporal isolation. When you look at distant galaxies through Webb, you are not seeing them as they are. You're seeing them as they were. Some of the galaxies Webb detected emitted their light when the universe was only a few 100 million years old. That light has been traveling for more than 13 billion years to reach you. Whatever those galaxies are doing now is unknowable to you. There is no universal present, no cosmic now. Every location in the universe has its own timeline, its own present moment that can never be synchronized with yours. Distance and time are inseparable. The farther you look, the deeper into the past you fall. This means that even if intelligent civilizations exist across the universe, most are permanently locked out of contact. Not because they are hiding, not because they are hostile, but because physics makes shared presence impossible. Webb reveals a universe filled with histories, not conversations. When scientists talk about the scale Webb revealed, the numbers themselves become a form of violence against human intuition. 800,000 galaxies in one tiny patch of sky. each galaxy containing on average 200 billion stars. Each star potentially hosting planets, possibly life, possibly consciousness. Multiply those numbers and meaning begins to collapse. Your brain evolved to count fruit, track faces, navigate terrain. It was never designed to process trillions of anything. At that scale, significance feels impossible. How can anything matter in a universe that large? Webb forces you to confront that discomfort head-on. It does not comfort you. It does not shrink reality to fit your expectations. It expands it until your sense of importance breaks. And once it breaks, you are left with a choice. Either reject the scale as meaningless or accept that meaning was never about size to begin with. For most of human history, we believed the universe was what we could see, first with our eyes, then with telescopes. And every time we improved our vision, we assumed we were finally getting closer to the truth. Webb exposed the flaw in that thinking. The universe did not suddenly become larger. It revealed that it had always been larger than our perception allowed. What we mistook for emptiness was never empty. It was simply invisible to our tools. This means that for centuries, our understanding of reality was built on absence rather than presence. We were drawing maps based on missing data and calling them complete. This realization is deeply unsettling because it implies something uncomfortable. At any moment, there may be entire layers of reality hidden beyond our current ability to detect them. Just as infrared galaxies were invisible to Hubble, there may be phenomena today that James Webb itself cannot see. Reality does not wait for comprehension. It exists independently of whether we can perceive it. One of the most shocking things Webb revealed is not just how many galaxies exist, but how fast they appeared. Our models assumed the universe needed time to organize itself, slowly forming stars, gradually building galaxies, calmly assembling structure. The data says otherwise. The infant universe was chaotic, efficient, and aggressive in its creation. Massive galaxies formed in cosmic moments. Star formation happened at rates we thought were impossible. Order emerged violently, not delicately. This forces a reconsideration of cosmic evolution itself. The universe did not ease into complexity. It exploded into it. Every time Webb looks deeper, it reinforces the same message. The universe does not respect our timelines. It does not care about what we think should be possible. It simply does what it does, and we are left trying to catch up, just as there is a cosmic horizon beyond which light can never reach us. There may also be a horizon beyond which knowledge itself cannot pass. James Webb shows us that even when we build the most advanced instruments imaginable, we are still trapped inside limits imposed by physics. Expansion erases information. Distance destroys simultaneity. Time fractures reality into disconnected slices. There are events happening right now that will never influence us. There are structures forming that we will never detect. There are answers to questions we will never even know to ask. This is not a failure of science. It is a property of the universe. Understanding this shifts the goal of exploration. It is no longer about knowing everything. It is about knowing what can be known while accepting that completeness is forbidden. Before Webb, here felt stable. Earth, the solar system, the Milky Way. These felt like locations embedded in something larger, but understandable. Webb erases that comfort. Here is not a place. It is a temporary alignment of space, time, and visibility. Your location is defined not only by where you are, but by what light has had time to reach you. Change the timing, and here becomes something else entirely. The universe does not have a center. It does not have an edge you can stand on. Every observer believes they are at the center of their observable bubble, not because they are special, but because physics makes it unavoidable. Webb reveals a universe where position is relative, access is limited, and reality itself depends on where and when you exist. And once you truly absorb that, the idea of a single shared universe dissolves completely. One of the most brutal lessons Webb delivers is that human intuition is not just wrong. It is fundamentally incompatible with cosmic reality. Our brains evolved to survive on a savanna, to judge distance in meters, time in days, and quantities in handfuls. Nothing in our biology prepared us to understand trillions of galaxies or billions of years. When James Webb shows 800,000 galaxies in a patch of sky smaller than a grain of sand, it breaks intuition completely. The mind tries to compress it into something manageable and fails. At that point, most people retreat into abstraction. They say that's big and move on. But the truth is darker than that. The universe is not just large. It is large in a way that cannot be internalized. There's no mental model that fits it. Any sense of comfort comes from giving up on understanding, not from actually achieving it. Webb forces us to confront a reality where understanding has limits not because we lack intelligence, but because the scale itself exceeds the architecture of the human mind. As the observable universe expands and galaxies slip beyond the cosmic horizon, something unsettling becomes clear. Most of reality will never know that you existed. Not metaphorically, physically. There are regions of the universe so distant that light from Earth will never reach them. No matter how long time continues, your planet, your species, your entire history is permanently sealed off from vast portions of existence. And this separation is not mutual in the way we usually imagine distance. From those regions, Earth is not far away. It is non-existent, not hidden, not unknown, simply absent. Webb reveals that isolation is not an accident of technology. It is a structural feature of reality. The universe fragments itself into causally disconnected regions, each living out its own history without awareness of the others. You are surrounded by things that exist but will never matter to you, and you exist surrounded by things to which you will never matter. That is the true scale of separation. Another implication of James Webb's discoveries is that we are living at a moment when the universe still remembers its own beginning. The further expansion accelerates. The more evidence of cosmic history is erased from view. In the distant future, observers in the Milky Way will not see billions of galaxies. They will see almost nothing. No expansion, no cosmic background radiation, no trace of the Big Bang. They will live in a universe that appears static, empty, and timeless, with no way to discover that it was ever different. Webb shows us that this era, our era, is cosmically privileged, not because we are special, but because we exist before the universe hides its own origin. We are seeing the universe at a moment that will never repeat. This is not progress marching forward forever. This is a window that is closing. When confronted with numbers this large, the instinctive reaction is nihilism. If the universe contains tens of trillions of galaxies, how could anything we do possibly matter? Webb does not answer that question directly, but it reframes it. Significance was never about occupying a large fraction of space. Nothing occupies a large fraction of space in a universe this big. Meaning cannot be proportional to volume, distance, or duration because those quantities dwarf everything equally. Instead, Webb quietly suggests something else. That meaning exists locally within reach, constrained by the same horizons that limit knowledge and contact. What matters is not what happens everywhere, but what happens where influence is possible. In a universe that fractures reality into bubbles, value does not scale outward. It collapses inward. And that idea, uncomfortable as it is, may be the only one that survives contact with the true scale of the universe. The James Webb Telescope didn't make the universe larger. It revealed how small our understanding always was. We thought we were mapping reality. We were barely sketching its outline. We believed emptiness meant absence, that darkness meant nothing was there. Webb showed us that darkness was full all along, overflowing with galaxies, histories, and events that never asked to be seen. It exposed a universe so vast that connection becomes the exception, not the rule. A universe fractured into observable bubbles where most of reality will never touch you, never know you existed, and never be reachable even in principle. Not because we lack technology, but because physics forbids it. That is the true scale of the universe. Not just size, but separation. Distance is not just space. It is time. It is causality. It is permanent disconnection. Most of what exists is locked away forever, slipping beyond horizons as expansion accelerates, erased from view, taking its stories with it. And yet, here you are, alive in the brief moment when the universe still reveals itself. Alive in the narrow window when its beginning, its structure, and its depth are still visible. Alive at the exact point in cosmic history when asking these questions is even possible. Webb did not make you insignificant. It removed the illusion that significance comes from scale. Meaning was never about filling space. It was never about being central. In a universe this large, nothing is central. Meaning exists locally, fragile and rare, inside the tiny regions where awareness can arise and look outward. Consciousness is not common. Understanding is not guaranteed. The ability to look up, grasp even a fraction of what's out there, and feel awe instead of indifference may be one of the rarest phenomena in your entire observable universe. The universe does not care if you understand it, but you do, and that might be enough. If this changed the way you look at the night sky, let me know in the comments. Does knowing the true scale of the universe make you feel smaller? Or does it make the small things you can touch feel more precious? And if you want to keep exploring the discoveries that are reshaping reality itself, stay here. Subscribe, because we are living in the last era when the universe still allows itself to be known. I'd love to hear what you think about this, so drop a comment below. If you enjoyed our conversation today, please share this video and subscribe to help the channel grow. Every bit of support counts.